it with passion, precision, and purpose. Today we are going to start on time because we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot in talk for everyone. So I want to welcome each and every one of you who have been here, and that you should sit, be cool, because it's going to be one hell of a ride. We have the best of the best packages for each and every one. So the earlier, the better. Those who are going to join us later will be regretting why they came late, because this session is going to be like no other. Today, we are diving deep into another subject that does not just speak into our professional lives, but echoes in our everyday existence. Today, we are talking about branding, career, and corporate identity. And I bet you we do not have nothing but the best when of today. Your world is governed and ruled by perception. You are what you communicate out there. Whether you are a student, whether you are a startup, whether you are a CEO, or just a is your story. Your career is the voice you carry to the marketplace. So get ready for some raw truths, real strategies, and revolutionary insights. We've got a powerhouse panel lined up for you. And trust me, today's session is not just going to inspire you, it's going to equip you in ways you will never, ever forget. You will thank yourself for being here today. Let's own a narrative. Let's master the message, and let's elevate Africa's excellence. Now, before we get into reading of bios, today's key speaker is not just a woman. She's a woman of influence. You can hear me? I can see some comments in the chat. Can you all hear me, please? So I've changed my network just now. Now I want to confirm if everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can. Just that your network keeps breaking, but I think it's fine now.
All right, I've changed it. I've swapped it to another network. Okay, thank you very much. So, as I was saying, today's key speaker is not just a woman of words. She is a woman of influence, a trailblazer in her field. And she's the person that brands call when they need help. Trust me, she is not just going to inspire you, you are going to be highly, highly impacted. Now, the key spot speaker is no other person but Mrs. Gladys Afumwaa Asare Dankwa. She is a public relations and marketing strategist, managing partner of Burgundy Africa, academic and thought leader with over 15 years of impactful experience in corporate communication, marketing, and brand strategy. Gladys stands as a powerhouse in Africa's communication landscape. She has successfully led multidisciplinary teams and driven high-impact campaigns across mining, construction, fintech, and more, leaving her mark both in the corporate world and in academia. Her professional journey includes key leadership roles at Atlas Copco Ghana Limited, now Epiroc, and People's Pension Trust. Today, she serves as the managing partner at Burgundy Africa, a leading PR and marketing agency transforming brands across the continent. Gladys is also a lecturer at Blue Crest University College, where she shapes the minds of the next generation of communicators. When it comes to her qualifications, we cannot even mention, but she is a PhD candidate in marketing expertise. So please, ladies and gentlemen, without any hesitation, join me. Welcome our first keynote speaker of the day, who in 30 minutes is going to enlighten us, broaden our minds, and teach us everything we have to know. Gladys Afumwaa Asare Dankwa. Welcome. The spotlight is all yours. Please take the lead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Greetings from Ghana. Yes, so thank you for the introduction. And I'm ready to take all of us through how we can build very cohesive and memorable brands, whether as corporate brands or as individual brands. Thank you for having me. Okay, so I'm having challenges with sharing my screen, so it will be shared for me, and then we'll take it up from here. Okay, so actually this presentation, please, can you hear me? Can you hear me, please?
Yes, loud and clear. We can get you.
Okay, so the presentation is going to look at what branding is. I know this is not the classroom, so I'm not going to bore any of you with the particular definitions and all that. But because we are looking at how we can build brands, the basics, we should be able to understand what the basics are. So we are looking at the basics of branding. And so we'll look at a few terminologies and concepts. And then from there, we'll look at how we can build brands, looking at how to create value for our brand. So we say that brands have financial value. How do we get that? And then we will look at the characteristics of the digital consumer. Why are we looking at building sustainable brands in the digital age? It means that something is happening in the digital age, and we as business owners, as brands, as corporate entities, as individual entities, must be able to understand the consumer in the digital space. And then we also look at the particular steps that we can use to build brands. Okay, and then we will look at the role of semiotics. Semiotics is the study and understanding of signs and symbols. And so as brands, whatever we are communicating out there is sending particular symbols and meanings to our audience, and we need to know how to make use of these when we are building our brands. So that is basically what this presentation is going to be about. And as I said, I'm not going to bore you so much, but we need to understand what brands are. So I took a very old meaning and definition of branding from Kotler, who is one of the key figures when it comes to marketing. And Kotler is saying that a brand is a name, a term, a symbol, design, or a combination of all these things that helps to identify goods and services from one seller to the other. And so this is the basic understanding of what a brand is. And when we're talking about brand elements, we are looking at the names, the logo, the music. When I play the sound of particular brands, we can be able to identify, for example, the Nokia brand. I don't know whether I got it right, but that is the sound of Nokia. When you hear it anywhere, you can see that this is the Nokia brand. So music is part of the elements. And then there are slogans. If I say, let's do it, immediately I say, let's do it, you will know that I'm talking about Nike. When I talk about everywhere you go, you will know that I'm talking about MTN. So slogans are also very important. And then we are looking at characters. So when I'm talking about characters, I'm talking about the voice of the brand. I'm talking about tone, typology, your style of writing. All of these are very important when it comes to branding. And then we're looking at branding in itself, and I'm looking at a very current definition, which says that it is the intelligent, strategic, and creative management of all the differentiating elements that you have about brand identity. So it is looking at both the tangible, the ones that we see, and intangible aspects of a brand. And so this goes beyond just the logos, just the colors, just the slogans. It now delves into how we can create memorable experiences for our target audience, and then also create value for our brand, so that when people listen or hear about the brand, they will have the right images running through their mind about the brand. So that is basically about branding, and that is what we have looked at. When we look at the next slide, you can see that these are particular brands that you might have seen and you may know. So these are, you can see Shell, you can see Pepsi. So these are brands that are global brands that over the years, people are known to have seen these brands and have interacted with the brands. Wherever you see their logos, you see that these are brands and they are representing this particular thing or that particular thing. So that is an example to show us about brands. Now let's ask ourselves, how do brands create value? How do brands create value on the market? This is a very important question. So whether it is an individual brand, whether it is a business, brands have the ability to create value for the brand itself, for the customer, for employees, for shareholders, for anybody who has a business with a brand, even for marketers. Because when you have a strong brand, marketers don't have issues selling your products, and they can charge premium prices. And when you have new products, it's very easy to sell them. But when you're looking at brand, creating brand value, the main thing that comes to mind is brand equity. And when we talk about brand equity, one question we are asking ourselves is, what is the worth of your brand? What is the financial value of your brand? If today you want to sell your brand, how much do you think your brand is going to be worth? And so we are looking at both the tangible and intangible aspects of your brand. We are looking at your assets and your liabilities as well. So when we mention a brand like Coca-Cola, you can imagine how much, if Coke wants to sell his brand today, it will be making, because Coke has a lot of assets, and these assets stems from its name, its logo, the images people have, the associations, and all that. And so brands have financial value. And that is why it is important for us to know how to build our brands, to get to that stage where everybody will take us serious. And when we want to sell that brand, we'll be able to sell it for its worth. But when we talk about brand equity, there are four main elements that we can talk about. The first one is brand awareness. So you ask yourself, how many people know of my brand? If you are a brand and you are not known, it goes against you, because in your category, in your industry, when they mention the industry, there are some brands that has to come top of mind. So for instance, when I mention an industry like the telcos, in Africa, if you want to mention the first 5 telcos top of mind, I'm sure that Airtel, Vodacom, MTN, Etisalat, Orange will come top of mind. That is brand awareness, and every brand must be able to have that awareness on the market. Now let's look at perceived quality. Why we didn't say brand quality, but we said perceived quality. Perceived quality because the more your brand is known, people tend to put some idea of quality to what you have. So people think you are providing quality service or you are bringing quality products just because you are known. So that is the perceived quality. So people will look at you because they think that, okay, the fact that you are known on the market, it means that you have a certain quality. So that is the perceived quality. The next thing we can talk about is brand associations. Every great brand should have associations. When we talk about brand associations, we are talking about the mental and emotional connections that your audience can ascribe to your brand. So for instance, let me give you a brand like Coca-Cola. Immediately you hear Coca-Cola, there are some things that mentally comes to mind. Immediately you think about good times. You're thinking about sharing with friends and family. You're thinking about sports. You're thinking about refreshment. So every brand needs to have associations. I don't know about other African countries, but I know that in Ghana, if you talk about a brand like Toyota, immediately you think about durability. You think about affordability. So every brand should have associations, and this helps for your people to connect with you on an emotional and mental level. Immediately you have these three, it is easy for brand loyalty to come to play. Because when people are aware of your brand, when they have a certain perceived quality of your brand, when they can associate your brand with some attributes, it's easy for them to be loyal to your brand. So that is when you go to the shop to go and buy products and you go straight to a certain aisle because you know what brand you are looking for. So if it's milk that you went to the supermarket to buy, when you get to the aisle at the shop, you will walk straight to a particular milk brand. And that is when the brand has brand loyalty with the target audience. So this is how we create value. Okay, but now the main issue why we are looking at this today is looking at creating a brand identity. And you ask yourself, what is even a brand identity? So a brand identity is looking at what all the unique characteristics that we've spoken about. Okay, so a brand has to have what personality, behavior, and then have some particular elements that anybody can associate that this is this brand. So if you're looking for McDonald's, there are particular things that you can see, the colors, the shapes, everything that shows that this is McDonald's. And that is what we are going to look at today, brand identity. And how do we build a very cohesive, when we talk about cohesive, we are talking about the fact that brand identity has different parts, but how do we make sure that we are able to marry all these parts together to present something very beautiful that people will see on the market and trust that they will get what they want from us. So that is brand identity. This takes us to the dynamics of the digital age. So when we are talking about the digital age, what are we talking about? What is actually pertaining to this particular field? We see here that there are 54% of users, I mean, people who use smartphones and smart devices, who browse social media to research products, 54%. The next thing is saying that 78% of these consumers say that social media posts impact their buying decisions. This shows that a chunk of our audience are on social media. A chunk of them are now looking for businesses, looking for brands on social media. So brands should be able to put themselves on that market and be able to differentiate themselves from the competition. This world is now in a very fast-paced environment, and so we need to be able to build very strong connections with our audience so that we'll be able to stay top of mind. And as I've said already, and the moderator even said it, that now brands, it is no more about the logo. It is about how you try to build connections. You try to make people trust you. Okay, so it is very important for us to know the dynamics in which we are looking at branding currently. And it is different from the olden days, because in the olden days, when you want to buy a dress, basically you walk to the shop to buy. But now you can just check for different brands in wherever area that you find yourself. And you can buy online pay online, and they will deliver it to you. So this makes it very important for us as businesses, as individuals, to know how we will put our brands on the internet. Now let's look at the digital consumer. What is special about the current digital consumer? The digital consumer we see today is very informed. These consumers have different devices. They'll be using laptops, iPads, mobile phones, and they can access your brands from every angle. Let me tell you a funny thing that happened with one brand that I worked for. The brand, before I joined the company, they had different information on their website and different information on social media. So on their website, they say that they were 7 years old. On social media, they were saying they were celebrating 5th anniversary. And then a client came on their page and said, "Are you people serious? On the website, you are 7 years. And on social media, you are 5 years. Can you please tell us what is happening?" It was then before I just joined the brand. So I was now doing their assessing the brand. And then I realized that this is what they have written there. So this shows that the current consumers that we have, you cannot fool them because they have access to every information. Before they even buy from your brand, they've checked from different kinds of online places. So we should be we should know that the digital customer we have now is very informed. And so we should be able to meet them at the point of their needs with the necessary information so that they will keep us top of mind. The next thing is that they are connected. They are connected with different networks, social networks, online networks. So that person can even go on WhatsApp and ask, "Have you seen this brand before? What can you say about this brand?" I am in a lot of social media pages that somebody, before they make a decision to buy from a brand, they'll come and put the brand in the group and ask, "Has anyone dealt with this brand? Do you have any particular issues that you saw with this brand? And can you advise me whether I should go forward to buy from them?" So this shows that they are connected, and you must be able to be trustworthy. Otherwise, you will not have people dealing with your brand. Now, another thing is that the current consumer is looking for convenience. They are looking for simplicity. So if they come on your website and navigating your website is a big deal for them, they will leave you and go to the next. If they want to buy something from you and your processes are too long, they will leave you and move to the next one, because they are looking for very simple features on your website. Simple, they can navigate, they can understand what you are doing. If they are ordering something, your processes should be very straightforward. Use codes, short codes, use links, and everything that will make it very easy for them to buy from you or to participate in your brand. And then they are also very participative. They are not one way. So in the olden days, most brands were just communicating in the one way. So they just send communication and they go and sleep. They don't really care what is happening. But the current consumer will interact with your brand. When you post, they will ask questions. They will bring issues under your post, and you'll be up answering these questions. So these new consumers are very participative, and we should know that. And then they are also looking at different experiences. The consumers we have today, you cannot serve them with a one-size-fits-all, because they have peculiar experiences and they expect you to treat them with their own personal issues. Okay, so you can't just have one way of dealing with all your clients. You should know who they are, understand them. That is why research is very important in today's market, because you need to understand who your client is. You need to understand how they want you to serve them. How you will serve one person is different from the other. Okay, and one other thing is that they are always available. These new consumers, they'll come to your messages in the morning, in the evening, at night, midnight, anytime they are there. And that is why brands should look at ways of putting AI. So you use plugins to use AI on your social media pages or even your websites, so that even when you have closed, there will be something that at least will interact with your consumers, because they don't sleep and anytime they can reach out to you. So when you are looking at building a strong brand, one thing that has helped me in helping brands is looking at the brands from the brand identity prism perspective. And this prism was developed by Cafera. It's an old It's an old way of looking at brands, but it still helps when you are looking at branding in a digital age. The first thing that we look at is that every brand needs to have personality. Personality is very important, whether it's an individual brand, whether it's a business, small, middle, large-scale business. Having personality is something that you cannot play with. So personality is very important. When we are talking about personality, so you see that the image that I have here, there's internal things that you have to do that will have an external realization. So if you build your brand by giving it personality, it will show through your logo, through your colors, your fonts, and other visual assets. And that is why every serious brand needs a brand guideline. So you need to do a brand manual. Sometimes you think, oh, it's a small business, so I don't want to do any voluminous thing. You can just look at a style sheet, okay? So which fonts are you using? Which font size? Which colors? How do we represent your brand? If it's a logo, where can we place it? So you see that some brands, they place their logo, they will tell you that top left, bottom right. They tell you where exactly. So whether you are doing leaflets, you are doing magazines, you are doing advertisements, they show you where you can place their logos, which dimensions you can use. That is a serious brand because they don't want you to misuse their logo, because the logo is the signature of your company. The logo is the signature of your brand. So personality is one thing that you cannot joke with. The personality also includes your brand voice. Okay, so what is your voice? If a brand writes its messages, is it formal? Is it showing off? Is it funny? So depending on who your audience are, you should be able to develop your personality so that when you get out, people can say that this is this brand. Okay, so for instance, if a brand like MTN, I don't know whether all the African countries we have MTN, but if a brand like MTN, I'm talking from the Ghanaian perspective, it's one of our top telco brands in Ghana here, and their color stands out. Their slogan stands out. When they send messages, you can see that this message is from this brand. So that is giving your brand personality. And as I said, it will come through your physique. So people will see your visual assets and immediately they can pinpoint that this is coming from this brand. Now the next thing is culture. When you're looking at the culture of a brand, it includes your core values, your philosophies, your ethics. So what do you hold dear? Even the purpose of the brand. So a brand must stand for something. Your values are very important. If you have a brand and you don't have purpose, you don't have values, you don't have philosophies that you stand by, then that brand, I'm not sure is going to be sustainable. So every brand needs to have values. And these your values will come through in the way you relate with your consumers. Because when you are building your values, you are building your philosophies, it is going to help you to go in a certain way. So you are guided in how you relate with your consumers. You are guided in how you relate on the market. You don't do your things just anyhow. Now, the next thing we can talk about is self-image. Your consumers will want to see themselves feeling a certain way in your brand. Let me give you an example. I went to one bank to take money to pay fees in another bank. That was the day that I understood what you mean by brand identity. The first brand, I'll mention the name, but I'll not mention the second one. The first brand was Tanchat. When I entered the bank, you could see their visual assets, their reception. Even their employees were dressed in a certain way. The way they would even relate with the clients was special. They had different ways that you can even take money. I went and I didn't take my checkbook. I was not having my ATM card. There was a way for me to take that amount of money easily without any stress. And there were staff who were prepared to help me. And so I'll even tell you that even the clients at the bank behaved in a certain way. Because when you enter the banking hall, you would definitely flow with the way things are going. Then I took this money and I went to another bank to pay the fees. Oh my God. This bank didn't care about how they were set up. Even when you enter their reception, nothing shows that this belongs to this bank. the people at the tellers, they didn't even think about the clients. We were just there, lined up, nothing. So immediately, I could see the difference between Bank A and Bank B. And that is how consumers look at our brands. When they enter your office, when they interact with you online, when they deal with you, even at fairs, exhibitions, everywhere, they are looking at particular things. Okay, so your people want to see themselves feeling a certain way in your brand. Let me give you an example. Look at iPhone. Those who are my students who use iPhone, they feel on top of the world. And they're always ready to buy the next new one. So even though there are other good brands, those who use iPhone feel a particular way. The same way about those who use Benz. They tell you that they drive a car that you can sleep in. And so it is different from a car that you sit in. You see, so when you are creating a brand, research about who your target audience are. Ask yourself, what kind of people do I want to serve? And then when you know the kind of people you want to serve, you will use that to look at the self-image. And it will definitely reflect in how people perceive your brand, your ideal customer, how they even use your brand and how they feel using your brand. So when you use this brand identity prism in building your brand, you can see that you are taking care of almost everything that is important. You're taking care of how you appear, so your visual, you are taking care of how the relationship that you have with people, and even how you make people feel about your brand. So that is why I say that even though this is an old way of looking at branding, it is still relevant, and we can build it, bring it in building brands in the digital age. Because in the digital age, people look at things online. So you are able to send videos, you are able to send images, you send your messages and all that. And people look at your brand through all these lenses. So this brings us to the next thing. There is something that is very important that most brands are not taking care of.
Mrs. Gladys, let me cut you for a minute. This is
Yeah.
getting really interesting because I can see the charts really bulging up, but we are going to definitely get back to you. But please, just use 2 minutes in order to, just touch the main points, and we are going to get back to you when it's the Q&A session and the interactions with the other participants. Thank you.
Okay, so the role of semiotics, I'm using it to end whatever discussion we are having. The fact that now people also read into signs and symbols. So whatever you are using to stand for your brand, whether it is your written messages, whether it's the audio, the visuals, your gestures as in body language and things that you use, or even how you place items on social media, on your website and all this are very important. And so as brands who want to make it in the digital age, let's look at what we stand for, how people perceive us, and how we place ourselves to be different from the others. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for that wonderful, that was phenomenal, that was brilliant, that was beyond brilliant, if I could say. This is what we call the force of experience. Reading through your bio, we already got that you have a lot of experience when it comes to this topic. And your presentation has not even fallen short one bit. Thank you very much. It was very, very insightful with a lot of practical experiences. And everything you've shared is very relatable and also very, very simple. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. You've said a lot of very interesting things on how we can change our brand in order for us to get the best of it. But one thing that caught my attention is when you said that every interaction is an experience, and that experience can either be good or bad. So if we are building a personal brand, we have to be intentional, because the consumers of today, they are very, very informed. They are very, very informed. They are researchers, and they are going to do due diligence when it concerns your brand. They are also very interactive. They are very participative also. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. And that's not just where we end. We are about to listen to another powerful one Now we are going to get in 15 minutes another speaker. This speaker is not like any other. This speaker, as we say in law, it's going to be res ipsa loquitur. That means the facts are going to speak for themselves. We are not here to joke. I am reading through the charts right now, and everyone is connected. Africa is awake because we are very conscious and intentional about our digital future. So please, ladies and gentlemen, allow me introduce to you. Africa has a lot of bold names, and this is one of them. The spotlight speaker of the evening, Enyinnaya Iroadumba. I am sure I missed that, but please permit me. This is a serial entrepreneur. Thank you very much. I can already see him very, very active. He is a mentor, a CEO at Beacon Innovative Solutions. He has a very, very rich bio. He is a distinguished serial entrepreneur, acclaimed trainer, author, respected TEDx curator and speaker. As a CEO and managing director of Beacon Innovative Solutions Limited, formerly known as Beacon Media and Communications Services, which he founded just at 21 years old. He has built a remarkable career rooted in innovation, impact, and leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, this is real experience. With a passion for entrepreneurship development, he has trained and mentored over 5,000 individuals through transformative programs. He has served as a facilitator and course director for the Faith Foundation, inspiring entrepreneurs and digital programs in collaboration with Meta Nigeria, and played a pivotal role in many other programs and projects. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our next speaker, and I am sure you are going to be blown away. Mr. Enyinnaya, over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Africa. Can you all hear me? Please kindly indicate if you can hear me.
5 on 5.
Yeah? You can hear me? Can you all see my slide? Okay, fine. Can you all see my slide? So let me start from here.
Yeah, your slide it's okay.
The privilege to be here in your midst this evening. My name is Enyinnaya Iroadumba. I'm going to be speaking about sustainable brand building. Wow, an amazing session. I mean, the keynote speaker already had made my job very, very, very easy. So I'm just going to run through. Now, there's something I've discovered from my over a decade experience as a business consultant, as a brand strategist, is the fact that we in Africa or the world of business, we tend not to build the proper way. I mean, the problem is that I've identified is that we build businesses without having the customer at the center of the business that we're building. And then like people of faith will go back and begin to bamboozle heaven to really get the customers to really buy from us. So there are three major components in every business. I'm going to be speaking from the brand perspective: the customer, you as an individual, and the business of talking about the product and the services. Now, we're going to be using NVIDIA as a case study here because NVIDIA all of a sudden is on all over the news, and they are doing something strategic that I think we really need to look at this evening. Now, so the customer is here, and mind you, branding is actually a game of strategy. It's also a game of intentionality. If there's anything I want us to take home tonight, is the fact that brand building is about deliberate attempts or being intentional. Now you have the customer who can also be dynamic in their very, very nature. Then you have you as an important piece of the game. And then you have your business and your product. Now, when they say customer is king, this is how I choose to see it. I choose to see the fact that when they say customer is king, it doesn't necessarily mean that the customer is always right, but it simply means that if I build my business having at the back of my mind who I want to serve in the first instance, it helps put a lot of things into perspective. So now, Peradventure, you have built your businesses before, you built your business before now without taking who your customer is into cognizance. You can do what I call a backward integration. Go back to your drawing board, get to look at who am I supposed to serve, or who is my business supposed to respond to or serve, or what need am I meeting in the market space. Once you are able to identify this group of people, then it is now very, very easy for you to begin to build your business around them. So what it simply means that even in your choice of brand colors, you will definitely it becomes very, very easy. So let me give a classical example before I jump into NVIDIA. Now, one of the fastest selling noodle brands in the world is Indomie. Now, Indomie is meant to serve, help children or help adults these days fight quick hunger, right? But you see, everything about the Indomie brand is actually being deliberate because they understood who their customers are from the ab initio. So what it simply means is that now, research has shown that the first color a child identifies at birth is the color red. Now, that is why Indomie will always put their adverts on red backgrounds. Now, beyond just even the children, now in branding, there's something we call the psychology of colors when it comes to branding. So it simply means how we're able to use colors to be able to tell a brand narrative to suit us the way we want the customers to actually perceive what we want. So that is why the quick service restaurants of the world, they are using a predominant color. I don't know if you've noticed, from the KFC to the Kilimanjaro to the Chicken Republic to the McDonald's, they are using the predominant pepper red as brand colors. Some of them complement it with the whites, or some of them complement it with yellow. Now, it's a deliberate attempt. Now, research has shown that brand colors increase brand visibility by 80%. And also, I need you to also understand that communication is only 80% non-verbal and 20% verbal. So what it means is that brands can actually communicate what they want you to perceive without necessarily opening, saying anything, right? So you're perceiving it through colors. Now, in psychology of color, red is actually a stimulant. A stimulant is something that makes you do what they want you to do. So you're seeing the color red, but you're not seeing it. Your subconsciousness have registered that you've seen the color red. And on a very good day, when you're hungry, you will want to go and locate that particular eatery or quick service restaurant that you saw at some point in time. So, I mean, it tells you that it's red, it's hot, it's instant, is what's the color of pepper? The color of pepper is red, and all of that. So having who your customers is at the back of your mind in building your business helps you to strategize properly. It helps you to understand the particular channels that you're able to. I'll not talk about brand identity because the keynote speaker have already done a very, very good job, but I'll talk a little bit about touch point. So understanding who customers is will also help you understand the marketing tools to which to use to serve them, right? So you see, if you understand that your customers are, let's say, Abraham Maslow talks about what is called the hierarchy of needs. And he says, as man grows in terms of income, that there's a need for security, and there are so many things that were not important that becomes important. So permit me tonight to tell you that there are three income strata in every given society. You have the low income earners, you have the middle class, and you have the upper class. Now, at these three levels, of course, there's a fourth class. We'll call them the 1% of the 1%. But of course, that's a story for another day. But at this three level of income, people are motivated by different things. So at the bottom feed, where you have a large chunk of the customers, they are motivated by instant gratification. So the guy wants to eat, but pricing for him is a major consideration. That is why you see, I don't know of Ghana, but I know in Nigeria, there's something we call gala. Gala is a beef sausage, right? So the moment gala crosses a particular threshold in terms of pricing, it becomes a luxury goods, and they will begin to lose market share because they understand the market that they are actually serving. So that is why it is better for them to reduce the size of gala and maintain a particular price threshold than to keep increasing the price. For those of you in Nigeria, you will agree with me that recently bread has become a luxury goods. just because of a shift in price. So brand building, when we talk about touch points, these are the aspects of your brand that people get to interact with, right? Talk about your product and your services. I mean, and all, like I said, you must also be very, very cautious about the people you're serving. So take for an instance, there are parts of India where cows are sacred. So imagine going to those kind of places to begin to serve beef. I mean, it's a no, right? So it's very, very important. Now, the keynote speaker talked about outlets. Now, if I step into your workspace or if I step into your office, I must be able to see the brand colors, right, that you've chosen. That's why if you go into an MTN office, you see the whole place sparkling with yellow, right? And then there should be this sense of resonance with the brand by just virtue of stepping into your space. It could be your office space, it could be any of your outlets, but you see, you have to be very, very intentional about it. And then your staff members, because these are the most critical aspect of every brand. That is why you see a lot of big organizations take out time to train and retrain their staff, right? We'll talk about social media, websites, stationaries, all of these things have been talked about. But you see, there's something I need you to understand. There has to be a level of consistency in whatever it is that you do in terms of branding. That's why the keynote speaker spoke about having a brand guideline. Now, if you have a brand guideline, it tells about how your logo is being positioned. Now, I'll give you an example. I used to work with a commercial bank in Nigeria called Guarantee Trust Bank. You will always discover that whether on their building or their ATM screen or their on their ATM cards, their logo is always positioned at the top right, and they are maintaining it consistently. And that's something everybody here should please do. I'm not saying it must be top right. It could be top left. It could be bottom left. It could be bottom middle. Whatever it is that you're doing, maintain that consistency across board. And even when you're choosing your typeface, there are different typeface for different industry, but that is just another 15 minutes. I can't do all of this in 15 minutes, but let me talk about your personal brand. Now, you see, the relationship that exists between your business brand and your personal brand must be a symbiotic relationship, such that when I come in contact with you as an individual, I want to do business with your business. And when I come in contact with your business, I want to do business with the person behind the brand. So you cannot tell me that you will help me make $1 million when you look like somebody that needs a handout. So here are things that I think you should take very, very serious as an individual. Now, what value are you bringing to the table? So I'm a brand strategist. That's the value I bring to the table. And I've trained to be at the highest when it comes to this particular skill set. Then dress sense. I mean, you dress the way you look. I mean, you dress the way you want to be addressed. Your social media outlook. The fact that it's social media does not necessarily mean you go and throw anything out there. If you're a brand strategist, when I go to your social media, I should be able to tell that this particular person does X, Y, Z by the virtue of what I see on social media. And please put up quality and good content out there. They will sell you, because I remember vividly when they were going to be selecting speakers for this particular conference, conference. One of the things they asked us was our social media handle. So I want to believe that all the speakers that sent their social media handles, not all of them that were selected. And I want to believe that it was those whose social media spoke of quality that were actually selected. And if you're here, you don't have good headshots, please go and get good headshots, and then your mannerism must be complete, right? So there are key things that you must also know when it comes to branding: mastery, intentionality, and consistency. Mastery, become the best at what you do, and then be intentional about the things that you're doing. I mean, sometimes you might even need to just volunteer for free just to have that particular association on your resume. And then now let's go straight down to NVIDIA. So what did NVIDIA do? And this is what I call the NVIDIA way. Now, mind you, NVIDIA is a $3 trillion business, and they've seen a 200% growth in their shares, right? So what did they do? I mean, they were early innovators. I mean, they started innovating. They brought about an invention we call the GPUs. The GPU simply means graphic processing unit. I mean, for those of you who are gamers, you get to discover that GPU was actually needed. So they already were ahead of the time. They understood what the clients or the clients or the customer wanted, and they were innovating very early enough. In fact, we call it I think it's called the blue ocean strategy, when you are swimming in an ocean, right? But I need you to also understand that it's also important to begin to look at it to be sure that your timing is perfect. I'll give an example. If you're going into EVs right now, it's actually a good time to start because the economy, and this is where the whole economy is actually driving into. But imagine if you're doing EV some 10 years ago, you might be a little bit frustrated. And what did NVIDIA do? They started revolutionizing when it comes to AI because they knew that AI was going to be the next big thing, and they were doing all of this, right? Because I'm talking about strategy here now. Then they were strategic about their expansion and diversification. Now, it's also good to diversify as a business, but don't diversify in an area where there is no promise. That is why it is always important to make data-driven decisions. I've had the opportunity of making decisions without data, and I've had opportunity of making decisions with data. And I can tell you anytime, any day, information with data is always important, and it always supersedes information without data. Then they have a strong and visionary leadership. You see, you who is driving the brand should be very visionary. I mean, so what's the 5-year outlook for your brand? What is the 10-year outlook? What is the succession plan for your brand? I've told myself that in the next couple of in another 8 years, I won't be at the driver's seat at Beacon Innovative Solutions Limited, and so I'm already planning succession. I'm already looking at the things that we're going to be looking at doing in the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years, even when I'm long gone. So that is one very, very good strategy to build a brand. And then NVIDIA was focused on innovation. Please innovate, innovate, innovate. This is the 21st century, and if you don't innovate, you will die. I want to believe I've been able to do justice to my 15 minutes. Thank you very, very much.
You have done more than just justice. In 15 minutes or less, you have said everything that has to be said. And it's a bravo, Mr. Enyinnaya. I hope I got it right this time. I hope I got it right this time.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yes. You know, genius for me is the ability to take out trash and leave the best for your audience. And that's exactly what you have done. Thank you so much. That was precise, concise, and very, very accurate. I am sure that those that are listening, those that are participating, are not regretting why they signed up for this conference today. Everyone, I can see the chat box. People are dying to have your slides. Everyone wants to have a piece of that cake, and I am sure one way or another we are going to make it available for the participants. Thank you so much. In a summary, you've said
I'll share my slides with the organizers.
Great. In summary, you've said a lot of brilliant things, but the key point here, one thing you said that I want to reiterate is the fact that we need to be consistent. We need to be intentional and have a mastery of what we are doing as far as sustainable brand building is concerned. That was so insightful and brilliant. Thank you so much. We cannot wait to reconnect with you when it's time for the Q&A. The participants, okay, I'm just going to read a few things that have been said so far from those that are following online. The chat box is swelling up, so I will just read a few things that have been said, but we are not going to the Q&A just yet. We are going to come back to that. So Les says, I love the presentation, although I joined late. Oh, sorry. Okay, a certain unknown says, that was an interesting presentation on branding. And I can see people say, yes, 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 you're killing it. Another one said, just joined, please share previous notes. Someone said again, please, can we get a replay on YouTube? This session is too valuable to listen it just once. Enyinnaya, you are great. So take your accolades, You deserve everything that has been mentioned. Your flowers are fresh and rosy. Thank you very much, Mr. Enyinnaya, for that very, very insightful conversation. Now the party is not over yet. We are going to get another very, very brilliant speaker and presenter who also in 15 minutes is going to share with us all she has packed and prepared for us. I really feel pity for those that are not connected now, because This is beyond expectations, and the speakers are killing it. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you the next spotlight speaker, Balemba Cecilia Kalang. I hope I got that right. You know, African and our names are so powerful. That's why I love African names. So she is a creative specialist, brand strategist, digital marketing expert, graphic designer, and a mentor. She's a national director, JPI Youth Leadership Convention. Balemba Cecilia Kalang is a dynamic, result-driven creative specialist and brand strategist with over 5 years of experience in developing and implementing comprehensive brand strategies that furthers business growth. Despite the odds, she has carved a path in the digital space, leveraging her creative flair to elevate brands and influence the digital world. Her journey includes collaborating with startups, NGOs, public organizations, where she boosted brand identity through impactful visuals that generated significant brand awareness. Her work has helped numerous businesses strengthen their market presence and drive growth. As a national director of the JPI Youth Leadership Convention, she takes pride in guiding and mentoring the next generation of leaders, focusing on the importance of creativity and leadership and business. She is also a graphic design tutor and mentor, having trained over 50 plus aspiring designers to harness the power of visual communication in the business world. This is a bio that we cannot read to the end because the experience is over the roof. But to keep things short and sweet, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Balemba Cecilia Kalang to the spotlight. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the organizers of this event. I'm so happy. Okay, so since I have just 15 minutes to talk, I'm just going to go very fast. I'll be talking about brand, create brand for yourself. So the keynote speakers and the former speaker has already said a lot about branding, so I will not really go too much into it. I'm just going to give maybe a few definitions, like very basic and easy way you can understand for those who don't really understand what branding is all about. So to begin, I hope you all can see my screen, please. Begin, what is branding in simple terms? Branding is just, I can just say branding is a process of just making something to stand out, like to make something look different from other things. In simple terms, that's what branding is all about. Like in all what you do in branding, you're trying to make that particular product, that particular service, or an individual to be easily recognizable, like people to easily recognize that particular thing from the rest. So in simple terms, looking at the two images I have on my screen, I will just explain to you what branding is all about. Like the first image is a cow, like let's say from when branding started. The first image you see a
I
cow
think the only screen we can
has no
see.
marks. One image you see a cow.
Hello, Balemba, can you get me? We can only see the first screen.
Yeah, I can get you.
The slides are not moving. We can only see the first slide. So I don't know.
Okay. Let me try to share again. I don't know why that is happening. Let me do it again. Oh. Is it okay now?
Oh, no, it's not. From my end, I can't actually see.
Hello, please cancel me if I'm good. Okay, let me just share my entire screen. Yeah.
I guess the network problem also is taking a turn.
Okay. Is it okay? Let me stop sharing this.
Not yet. Not yet. For purposes of time, maybe you just continue with your presentation. We are going to share your slides with the participants later, so we can manage time.
Okay. Okay. So as I was saying, I just wanted to give an example for people to easily understand what branding is. For example, we have cows. We have a cow, like in people that are into catering and all that. So we have cow one that has nothing on it. Like it's just a normal way. If you want to go and buy, the person selling this to start explaining to you if the cow is female or male, age, and all that. And we have a one that has tags maybe on the ears, okay? With that tag, you can easily just know the kind of cow you're going for. It shows on the tag the name of the cow, the sex, age, the size, weight, and everything. So what's the difference between the two? The two is that one cow is branded and the other one is not. Okay, that's just how branding looks like in a very basic term. That's how branding is the ability to easily make something stand out for a particular thing is finding itself. Okay, example of these two cows. So the second one, you just, okay, I want this one. It's very easy for you to notice it. You will not start going and talking with the seller, please, can I get you? Just know exactly what you're going in for. From the tax, you can easily orientate yourself. Or just for this because he has all the details branded on him to show me what I want, and I just go for it. And after that, why is branding important? Like, why do people need branding? It's because it helps you to easily choose what you want. Okay. For example, let me take a very easy example. We have the human brain. The human brain thinks 35,000 times a day before making it. Now, and in doing that, you're forced to maybe find yourself taking things from here and there to put in. And some of those things you're taking from here and there may not actually be the things you need. Branding now comes to get good to use items that really help you. The items that you really need that are really important for you to use to make that particular product or whatever you're doing to make it stand out easily. That's what branding does. So branding helps you to become very conscious, become with principles and all that help you to say, okay, instead of going everywhere, this is what I actually need. I don't need or it's in this one or just one, two things. That's what it helps you to do. Okay, it helps you to live from your automated decisions like this, which may not really help you. But I tell you, may be copying what another person is doing. And when you do that in branding, it's not going to help you. Branding, it means, and I tell you, you need to be unique. People need to easily recognize you. People don't need to see you and then think of something else. From the set goal, when people see what you're doing, when people see them to know that, okay, this thing belongs to this particular person. That's what branding helps. And that's why it is really important to practice brand whatever thing you're doing. Now, branding now evolving in modern day technology. Now in modern day technology, we have so many things. People are now aware of culture, aware of so many other things. Now, branding now in the modern day, it's more. President, I will start talking about color, words, symbols, images, tone of voice, and all that. We all know that red color in the Chinese culture does not mean the same thing like red color in another culture in the world. You get it? So in modern day technology, it helps you now to see branding up, not just by using that particular symbol color. You need to be sure that that thing you're using, that word, that image is not giving a very wrong idea of what you really want people to know about your product for it to sell or for it to stand out. Okay. Then from there now, that is just the aspect of branding. Now, how does brand digital into brand? We said branding is just a process in which you want what you have, an item or a product to stand out. Okay. Now, what's the difference now when brand strategy comes in? When brand strategy comes in and to give by step by. Branding just gives you like, okay, brand strategy helps you with a step-by-step guide. Like it makes it to be very precise in your decisions you take in order to make that particular product to stand out. Okay? And in brand strategy, we talk more about consistency. We talk about the fact that what you are selling or your product can be memorable, like easy to identify and recall, and it is easy to stand out. This is where brand strategy process with particular principles to make you stay on top of your game. Like you're not dangling today and tomorrow coming back. No, you have to be consistent. It makes you to be memorable, and it helps you to easily stand out. This is where brand strategy just comes in. Now, I really wish my screen for me to really explain, because I had images that could really explain the idea of consistency and how you can easily stand out. So, I don't know if you know this product. It is called. There's a moment where Tropicana wanted to switch from the old design to a new design, but the way they switched with it, it became so different that people, when they went back to buy that particular product, they were confused. Like, okay, is this product actually what I used to be able to strategize your brand in a consistent way? That even if you need to evolve or you need to change time, you are not changing completely from what your customers were already used to before. Okay, it helps you to change, but not completely. Like we need to see that consistency. You don't need to just change completely. And secondly, at the level of memorability, we'll go back to let me say, for example, I'm going in the sense of memorability of your logo, memorability of how you use the name of your brand. But for example, we can see the changes that companies have been going, like changing their brand names from maybe in the 1980s to now. Most companies are going now for maybe minimalism and all that. And even though they are changing from maximality to minimality, they don't just whatever they are evolving or changing with, people can see, recognize, and remember that it is this same company that is changing over time. You need to work with the people. They need to remember. Like you need to stick in their head. Like these students, first of all, the name was Air Beds and Breakfast. Imagine somebody has to retain that name. It's very long. But now the name is just Airbnb. Very easy. That's what brand strategy helps you to achieve when you start using it in in your service or when you're using it in your brand. Okay, that's what it helps you to achieve. It makes your product or brand to be easily memorable. A lot of people saying beds and breakfast, la 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 la. You just say Airbnb. And the third thing we talked about was distinction, make you to stand out. In the case where people don't even need to see you. For example, one very good use of. It shows an example of a company that is really using brand strategy very well. Like font, their color, you just, oh, this particular product, this particular people, this particular service belong to MTN without even using their logo on it. Okay, so this is how brand strategy really helps. When you employ it in your brand, your product, this is how it really helps you to grow. It keeps you in shape. You don't go out of track. That's what I can really say that brand strategy helps you. It helps you to stay on track. You don't go out. You don't confuse people. I guess my time is almost up.
Yeah, please.
So I would have loved to talk about personal branding, but I think the speaker that spoke before me has already spoken about it. Yeah. So in general, I cannot say personal branding is something that sells you and not somebody else. You spend your entire life working for people and all that, but personal branding is the only thing that talks about you, yourself, who you are, what you do. So in this, our generation of artificial intelligence and all that, the only thing that can really bring you to the society is if you build a person who's going to end here to not really go too much. Thank you very much for your time. I guess I'm going to end here. Thank you.
Thank you very much as well, Balemba Cecilia. You did a fantastic job, irrespective of the technical issues. You made sure you pushed through to the end. So thank you for such resilience and the beautiful insights you've shared with us. In very few words, I'm just going to highlight a few things because the network too was kind of shaky. But one thing you made very clear is the fact that brand strategy helps and makes your brand stand out. And it helps even the consumers make an easier choice because there is a lot of qualification of brands. So, with the right strategy, your consumers and your buyers are able to immediately identify your brand, and it helps you also with the right, when you have the right strategy, you then minimize a lot of things that helps your clients retain easily. In very few words, that was the key message that she had given up, she has given us, and she was very, very elaborate about that. We are going to make sure that the slides she could not use because of the technical issues is going to be shared to everyone, so there is no trouble when it comes to that. So before I introduce the final speaker of the day, I want to remind our participants that the physical event of this digital conference will be coming up soon, and the details regarding everything is going to be communicated. So stay locked in. The information, how everything is going to play out, will be communicated to you subsequently. We are leaving from the virtual space to a handshake experience. So imagine all of this goodness we have experienced now. Just have a think or a little imagination of how the physical event is going to be. You are not going to miss this one. Make sure that you do everything possible in order to stay logged in and get the information fast, and make sure you do whatever is required of you in order to make the best of it. It is no doubt that the digital space and the everything we've been talking about from day one is our current reality. And the earlier we take best or we make use of this opportunity and make sure that we change our lives for the best, then the better for all of us. Thank you so much, Balemba Cecilia. That was very, very insightful. And now, to round up for the day, before we go to the Q&A, we are introducing the fourth speaker. I told you guys on the fourth day that 4 stands for structure, 4 stands for foundation. And this is what the speaker is going to bring to us today. The next speaker, Mrs. Esther Ilesanmi, I hope I got that right. I'll be willing to get the corrections when she shows up. She's an ARPA media and communications professional, digital literacy advocate, founder Kids and Teens Tech Academy. She is a dynamic media and communication professional, author, and speaker with expertise in AI powered social media strategy, brand management, and digital literacy. With close to a decade of experience, she empowers brands and individuals to amplify their digital presence and navigate the evolving tech space with clarity and confidence. She is an associate registered practitioner of advertising certified by ARCON and a recognized voice in the Nigeria's digital transformation space. Esther has trained over 1,000 individuals in digital literacy and regularly speaks at conferences and media platforms on digital marketing, brand positioning, AI in communications, and social media strategy. Her insights have been featured on AIT, ITV, Abuja, Kiss FM, Nigeria Info, and others. In 2024, she received an award of impact for her outstanding contribution to the digital empowerment and education. With such a wealth of knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome the next spotlight speaker, Mrs. Esther. You have the floor, ma'am.
So much for this amazing opportunity, and I want to celebrate you for the job you're doing. You're doing a great job, and I also celebrate the team for putting this together. The previous speakers have done really great job, and I'm just going to ride on that flow to wrap it all tonight, and I trust it's going to be an interesting session. Please do confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. So the previous speaker did a great job laying the foundation for what branding is. So I would take it that you already know that there are certain things that should be in place before building a personal brand. And I like to start by saying your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And this was said by Jeff Bezos. I also highlighted a sentence here saying, when you walk into a room and then someone knows your name and what you stand for, that's the power of a compelling brand. So knowing that whether you intentionally cultivate how people should perceive you or not, they already have a perception of you, should tell you that you should intentionally show them what they should think about you. You should intentionally portray a kind of personality that they will hold about you, regardless of where you are, either in Lagos, Nigeria, Nairobi, Johannesburg, London. The truth is, you already have a brand, even if you've never created a logo. But the question is, are you shaping it, or is the world shaping it for you? Now, most of us are already doing one thing or the other, but I like to say that it is not the most intelligent, it is not the most smartest, it is not the most skilled that gets the visibility and the accolade. It is the most seen and heard. And this should tell you the power of branding. It is people that are seen that have the opportunity to get all of the rewards that come from showing up. And that's why it is important that you intentionally create a brand. Your brand is not your logo, just like the previous speakers have emphasized. It is a feeling that people get when your name is mentioned in a room full of opportunities. So it shows you, it tells you how you show up online and offline. It creates a perception to your audience, whether online or offline, how you communicate your value clearly and confidently. It is how people remember when you are not in the room. So there's a whole lot that comes together to inform people about who you are, and the sum total of who you are is what your brand is what branding does for you. Now, how does personal branding affect your career? I gave a case study of Trevor Noah. I'm not going to go very detailed into this because of the time limit, but a quick study should show that somebody from somewhere in South Africa, somebody from somewhere in Kenya, someone from somewhere in Ghana can become so intentional about their brand that the world can get to know what they do because of how much they've intentionally positioned themselves as the go-to person when it comes to expertise in a particular niche. If you study about Trevor Noah, you will notice how he started and how his storytelling and consistency in building his personal brand propelled his career. He's not the only one that exists in his niche, but he has created a niche for himself by positioning himself as somebody who has unique values to portray to the world. If he can do this from South Africa and the globe knows about him, how much more you? But you don't just create a brand out of nothing. It has to be bettered from a place of impact. And I like to say that impact is not sustained until it is branded. So you're very good at something, but you've not branded it as something that people can refer to, something that people can recommend, something that people can make reference to. Then your impact will not get to the globe. You can be somewhere in Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, South Africa doing an amazing job, and then people are not getting to hear about you or what you do. That's because you've not intentionally positioned yourself in a way people should recognize you for what you do. So like I was saying earlier, if your business, your personal brand, or whatever you do does not brand her impact, does not brand her value, you will not be able to communicate whatever you do, whatever value you carry to a global stage. And while we're branding ourselves, we should understand that it is beyond our local vicinity. We're branding ourselves to appear as professionals or top people who are skilled in our sphere of influence. And this gives a global perception about you. You're not just branding for where you are at the moment, but you're branding so that the globe can understand who you are and the unique value you carry. Now, brands distinguish their values from others using several parameters. Some have been mentioned, and I'm not going to go details into this, but it is your unique brand that helps you create recognition. It is your unique brand that makes people loyal to you. It is that uniqueness that you portray that makes people trust you. And whatever you're doing at this point, I want you to understand that a brand is a sum total of all the expressions that you want people to recognize you for. And like I gave this case study of Trevor Noah, if he started from South Africa and now the globe knows about him, the world knows about what he does, you can start from wherever you are. Once you've understood how to position yourself as the expert you are, people would want to watch you, refer you, or remember you when there's a need for that uniqueness you offer to the globe. So how can you build your brand? The first I listed here was authenticity. What do I mean by this? Telling your unique story. Nobody has a story like yours. Nobody has your journey. Nobody has your challenges. Nobody has your idea the way you captured it. So your ability to tell your story uniquely would help you build a brand that lasts the test of time. Secondly, consistency. Consistency is key when building a brand. It's the ability for you to remain and position yourself as a particular person, a particular organization, a particular entity over a period of time. So there are certain things that resonate with you. There are certain names I mentioned that you resonate with because over time they've consistently positioned themselves as a brand that does XYZ. So you have to be consistent, and your consistency has to span across platforms. The key speaker gave an example of how that they went to a person's website and saw that they were in existence for 7 years, and then they went to the social media platform and saw that they were in existence for 5 years. So there was a conflict and people could not really blend the two together, and that shows a lapse in lack of consistency. So for you to be consistent in building your brand, you ensure that whatever you're communicating has to be uniform across platforms. Then the third is engagement, how you interact with your audience. This is what builds trust. You don't want to be passive online. You're building a brand, but you should understand that behind the audience you're communicating to via your devices are real human beings. So ensure to engage with them just so that you get feedback that you can use to improve on your brand. Now, how do you build your corporate identity, and how do you step into a place of recognition. I gave an example here, which is Flutterwave. This is a Nigerian fintech company that started with identifying a need. In the intro, I mentioned that it is value that you brand that people now recognize globally. So you have to identify one key need that people have and then brand it into what people can refer to when there's a need for that which you offer, that solution which you offer, that product which you're selling, that service which you're good at. So find a particular solution, find a particular challenge, profile the solution, and ensure that you're branding it to a global standard so that people can refer to you from wherever they are. So you can have a brand right here in Nigeria or Kenya or Ghana or wherever, and then people from several aspects of the several regions of the world can reach out to you because of how well you've communicated your value. Now, some of the elements you should consider when building a brand is your visual identity. The previous speakers have spoken so much about this, your brand voice, and then your core values as well, what your organization stands for. And then another thing I want you to understand is that for every person building a brand, there's something they consider what makes them memorable. What's that thing that they will communicate to their audience that will make them stand out? And that key ingredient is storytelling. The world has changed. The attention span of people has dropped drastically to about 8 seconds in 2022. And it shows that people, the more you're able to communicate your value in a very convincing way within a short period of time, the more you are able to retain the attention of people. In this age and time, this digital age, like the key speaker said, attention is currency. Your ability to stop the scroll and get people to notice the value you carry, especially when it is branded and packaged in a professional way, would help you stand out compared to the millions of people that we have existing on the online space. Research has proven that research shows that there are over 4 billion users of even social media globally. And if you're able to build a brand that resonates with people, people will remember you. A lot of people would want to refer to you, reach out to you for that which you're communicating to the world. The first speaker also emphasized on Coca-Cola, how that they were able to build their brand in a way that it was relatable. And then I also remember studying about a campaign they did, how that they bottled people's name, and it created a lot of impact within that period because it was something that the average person could connect with. So what are some points we can pick out from this? Number one, relatability. In building a brand, like all of the previous speakers have mentioned, you have to ensure that you are relatable. Ensure that your audience can relate to the stories you're telling. They can connect with whatever work you're trying to put out on the online space. Ensure that you're communicating from emotion. You are human and you're also communicating to fellow humans who are behind their key parts. So you should evoke feelings that create a lasting impression. It's easy for you to remember when there's a story that you can tie to the brand, when there's an experience that you can tie to the brand. And then simplicity. People do not want complex anymore. There's already a whole lot of challenges that people have, so they don't want to be racking their brains to just try to figure out what your brand is all about. So you have to communicate your value, your solution as simple as possible. So I also listed some of these brands that are making waves in Africa. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to give so much details, but you can study about how these brands came, identified a particular challenge, branded themselves, understood how to leverage the digital space, and they're successful in the locations where they are. Globally, people have recognized them. What lessons can we pick from you should be able to identify local challenges and create solutions that even people from wherever they are can resonate with, can see the value that is captured in the solution you're communicating. Secondly, scalability. You don't just want to create a brand because you want to create a brand or because everybody is creating a brand. You want something that will leave a legacy for you, something that will stand the test of time, something that if it is mentioned, people can resonate with it and understand that there's something unique this person is offering. And so ensure that as you're creating your brand, you're creating it with the future in perspective. And then ensure to engage communities. One of the most proven way to break into local communities is when you engage them. It's when you do things that resonate with them and do things that impact them. So as you're building your brand, ensure that it also connects to the local communities. Now, everybody has mentioned branding and why it is important. How then do you start? Even if you're a newbie, you have no idea about how to start building your brand. The first thing you should do is to identify your purpose. What exactly am I building this brand for? Why am I building this business? What does this business seek to solve? Secondly, identify your audience. Who are your target audience? Are they Gen Zs? Are they millennials? Are they baby boomers? Identify who these people are. Identifying them will help you know how to communicate in a language that they understand. It will help you know what kind of branding elements you should communicate in a way that will resonate with them, right? It will also know how you should speak to their pain points because you already know the specific caliber of people you're communicating with. The third point is to craft your message. What is your message?
Esther,
You don't sell a
please,
product or
please,
service.
please, in a minute, just round up because we are still going to get back to you as concerns when it comes to the Q&A.
Okay, thank you so much. So
Yes.
I'll just quickly mention some tools you can use to start your journey. For people who have zero knowledge on designs, you can start with using Canva to design, create your logo, your designs for your social media platforms. You can also schedule your posts for people who want to build consistent posting across their social media platforms. You can also leverage AI to create content that speaks about your personal brand. Now, there's going to be a lot that's going to be happening in the coming days, in the coming weeks, in the coming years. And if you don't key into this innovation and build your personal brand, you'll be left behind. Now, I mentioned here that Africa is not just a country, it's a continent of diverse stories waiting to be told. Your story can be captured in what's going to be featured in the great Africa that is going to be talked about in years to come. It's not just about your logos, like the previous speakers have said, it's about the stories you tell and the experiences you create, whether you're an individual or corporation. So it's better you start creating your brand story, engage with people authentically, remain consistent, and let your story get to the global stage, regardless of where you are at the moment. If you intentionally create a brand, you won't be worried if your job title was removed. You won't be worried if there's nothing left for you in the corporate space because there's a solution that you've created your brand around that people can resonate with. Your brand is an insurance. Build it wisely, communicate it clearly, and if you do this, it will open doors that you never knew existed. So because of time, I'm just going to round up at this point. Know that your brand travels faster than your qualification. It can open doors that even your school qualification may not grant you access to. So be intentional in cultivating a perception that people can have that is right about you, your business, your organization, or whatever you represent. Thank you so much. And I hope I've been able to cover some things about personal branding.
You have covered more than enough. That was so brilliant. You know what they say about great minds? Like minds, they think alike. Great minds think alike. I think that's what they say. And that's what you guys have done this evening. From the keynote speaker to all of the panelists, you have paid in full. You have done, you understood the assignments, as they always say. You guys, it's a bravo for me. It's a bravo. This has not just been any ordinary session. For me, it has been a master class. I don't know for the other speakers, but this has been a master class that I have never seen. And I am so honored and privileged to be here. Thank you so much, Esther. One thing I got from you, without having to repeat any other thing that has been said, is that your brand travels faster than your qualification. This has proven true for those who know what branding, personal branding is all about. And thank you for delivering. You paid in full and you understood the assignment. Now, before we go to the Q&A questions, please remember that the physical event is coming up, and we should stay locked in order for us to be able to participate when the time is right. I'm just also going to read a few comments from the chat box. Participants, they are very much engaged. So we are going to listen to a few comments and messages. Someone said, an unknown person, career growth starts when you stop asking, what title do I want? And you start asking, what impact do I want to make? I think Esther elaborated on that when she said you need to identify the problem and bring valuable and impactful solutions. So that means the spirit is really moving and everyone is really, really engaged. Now, okay, there is a question in the chat box. This is also from an unknown who said, how do you balance authenticity with aspiration when your current state doesn't match the image you want to project? I'm going to take that question again because our lovely Enyinnaya will be the one to address this. So a participant is asking, how do you balance authenticity with aspiration when your current state does not match the image you want to project? Did you get that, or do you want me to take it one more time?
Yeah, take it one more time, please.
Okay. How do you balance authenticity with aspiration when your current state does not match the image you want to project? So they want to know how you balance authenticity with aspirations when your current state does not match the image you want to project. You want to stay authentic, but you want to balance it with your aspirations.
Okay, fine. It's all boils down to intentionality, right? The truth is like I always tell people. I mean, if you're quite intentional at what you do. Now, there's this school of thought that say fake it till you make it, and I don't subscribe to it because people are not as stupid as you think they are. People can smell something that is authentic or fake from a mile away. So why being your original self? There are a couple of things that I would suggest that you begin to inculcate as an individual. So one of the things that you should have to begin to learn basic etiquette. If you're not quite good with fine dining, please begin to do so. And then, of course, begin to hone certain skills. I mean, these things are really perception, because the truth is this: no matter how authentic you are, if you don't know how to communicate effectively, it becomes a problem. And your ability to communicate effectively also help people get the perception that you're trying to create as an individual. So also leverage on relationships. So like I said, get a good headshot, make friends with photographers and let them give you good headshots. I mean, those are things that won't cost you so much that you can begin to put out there, right? More like have like a blueprint while you're being your original self, but at the same time, I mean, when you are being deliberate about it and you're putting these steps into play, what now happens is that at the end of the day, the perception that you're trying to put out there becomes your reality. Now, let me also say this: branding is a continuous thing. It is not a one-off thing. That is why big organizations, after they've created a brand, they rebrand. So it's a lifelong thing, right? But over time, your deliberate efforts will accumulate to a particular result that you want people to see. So your social media posts, if you're here now and you're not on LinkedIn, those are deliberate steps you need to begin to take that won't cost you much. So by every day, just ensure that you're doing one thing in the right direction, right? Get a professional email, get good headshots, post good quality content on social media. That won't cost you so much, but I mean, when you're being deliberate about it, learn So sorry, guys. Can I continue? The network threw me out.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, so what was the last thing you heard me say so that I can repeat myself? I can take it off from there.
I am so sorry. I greatly
It's okay. So what was the last thing you heard me say so that I can repeat myself and then take it off from there?
I heard you talk about the deliberate steps we need to take, like creating a LinkedIn page, things that are not going to cost much. Yeah, I think that's where
Yes.
I
Okay,
yeah.
fine. So create LinkedIn page, post content that will sell you as a brand, not as an entity. And like I said, branding is a continuous thing. It's not a one-off thing. Even big brands, after they've used a brand, they rebrand. So keep at it. I mean, be deliberate about it. I mean, and then at the end of the day, like I said, leverage on relationships, right? So there, you can even lobby to be a TEDx speaker. I mean, be intentional about associating with already established brand, right? We'll call it more like let it be symbiotic. So speak on platforms such as African Digital Conference. It's a huge brand, right? So by the time you do all of these little big things, that's what I call them, you get to discover that people will begin to know you in the particular light that you want them to know you. And like I said, be valuable. When people get to meet you, leave them better than you've met them, right? You have your ability to communicate effectively, smell well, look nice, dress well, take good pictures, post post good stuff on the social media on the social media platforms, make quality friends, right? Get good etiquettes, and I bet you at the end of the day, and then your body of work, please put them out there too, so that people can get to see. So if you don't have, like I said, LinkedIn page, get one. You can get a Google profile about you. Just make sure that you are in the right places, and I guarantee you, you'll be the better for it. I want to believe I've been able to answer that question. Thank you.
You definitely have answered beyond expectations. Thank you so much. So the next question is going to be directed to the keynote speaker, Madam Gladys. This question is something that I personally have really thought about a lot of times, and it's something I do not have, and how people should leverage it and all of that. But what about people who are in the technical fields, actually? People who are behind the
Hello, your line is breaking, so I can't really hear.
Your insights on this.
Please, can you just summarize it for me? Your line was breaking. You get
Okay,
me?
yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear
Okay.
you now.
Yeah, so I was saying that there is a question that has bothered me for a very long time, and I want to get your insight. A lot of people, especially experts in the field like all of you, mention the importance of personal branding. But what about people in the technical field behind the scenes whose role build a strong personal brand without being in the spotlight? Did you catch that?
Yes, I get it now.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so to the best of my knowledge, no matter the field you are in, whether you are a hands-on person or you are an administrative person, or even in the roles that we find ourselves, it is important for you to build a brand because people are looking up to see something about you. So from all the speakers that we've spoken today, you can hear that there's something about you coming out. A brand that is not known is not really going to make it on the market, because people want to know you for who you are. So you can be that person that you are not showing up every day, but then maybe when you have a breakthrough innovation, you can share. So you're a technical person, maybe in the oil industry, you've been able to work on a particular drill rig, and you think there's something about that particular work that you want to share. It is something that you can share on your LinkedIn. So it doesn't really have to be every day, or like you have a plan that maybe you think it's going to worry you in your work. But then just make it a point that when you have something that you think is valuable, you'll be able to share. Because what we want to do is that you want to create a unique brand. And so there's something about your story, something about what you do that you need to let the world know. Without people knowing, they will not be able to tell what you do or who you actually are, because you never know what that one particular post can do for you. Somebody chancing upon that post can even give you a bigger role or a bigger work that you might maybe not thought they have thought of. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm done, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess that question has been very much answered and also elaborated on. Thank you very much. Now I am going to ask this question. It's going to be directed to Cecilia. If Cecilia is on board, please, this question is for you. So in those days when you do not feel like your brand, where everything you feel you are not motivated, you feel tired and insecure, how do you overcome this? Because all of the speakers have spoken and touched something about consistency. It's not every day you wake up and you feel like this is the day I'm supposed to go harder and harder. Some days you really feel unmotivated or even insecure, or even moments where you feel like you're not measuring up. How do you manage such emotions as far as personal branding is concerned?
Okay. Um, as you said, it's not really easy to be consistent when building a personal brand, because there are moments where you might be tied up with a lot of things, or you're tired, especially maybe on LinkedIn. I, for one, creating content on LinkedIn is not really easy. Like doing your normal work and doing content is not easy. But then you're doing it for yourself. So when you're doing something for yourself and not doing for somebody else, I guess that passion alone will always want to push you to get back to work. So when building a personal brand, the fact that it surrounds around you and you're bringing out something that is valuable that you want to share with other people, that passion in it is always going to bring you back to want to come up. Like even when you're there, you're like, okay, I love doing this thing. I need to do it because I'm passionate about it. I know I have value that if I share, it's going to help somebody else. So being consistent is not easy, but when you find yourself building something of value, I don't think you really want to sit sometimes and say, no, I'm going to stop doing it. It's not really easy though, but make sure that you find yourself around, that you're building something that you're passionate about, since it's personal branding is about you, about what you want to propose to people, the value you want to share out. So what I can say about being consistent in building your brand is that you should make sure you find yourself building a brand that has value, and you cannot share value from a place that you don't love. So when you find yourself sharing value from something you love doing, being consistent will be difficult, but you'll be able to surmount from it. I think that's just what I can really say about being consistent in building your brand.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Now we are going to wrap up with the last question, and this question will go to our fourth speaker, the Queen Esther herself, who did so well during her presentation, just like the other speakers. So, the Queen herself, do you believe that African brands and professionals are doing enough to tell their stories globally? And in your own experience and in your point of view, what do you think has to change? Do Africans, as far as branding is concerned, Are we telling our stories enough? Are we telling our stories enough? And to you, what needs to change for us to make the best of this personal branding and corporate branding thing we have been talking about all night?
Thank you so much. So I think Africans are telling their stories enough from my perspective. And when I was teaching, I gave an example of Trevor Noah. He's an African and he has risen to a point of global influence. If he wasn't telling his story enough and positioning himself properly, we probably wouldn't have known him today. And that's not just him alone. There are a lot of examples, both in Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria. We have several people who are doing exceptionally well in their spheres of influence, even in Nigeria, from fashion to media and a whole lot. So we're telling our stories, and as we do this consistently, we'll come into limelight. Now, regarding what can be changed, I think there's a stereotype, sometimes a bias regarding Africans. People have a certain perception about us, and it's our role to clear that wrong perception that people have about Africans. And I see that a lot of us are coming to do this. For instance, we had the Guinness World Record holder, Hilda Bassi, is African. She's a Nigerian. She rose beyond the limitation of what people think about African women, and she was able to position herself as a chef on a global scale. She's been recognized. We also have the guy who did chess in slums. He runs an organization. He runs. His name is Tunde Onokoya. He runs an organization for people in slums, and he was able to, with his story, his games, sell a narrative, sell a perception, and that's doing a lot for Africa as a whole, and for Africans as well. So there are a lot of us have so much to offer to the world until we break that limiting belief, until we see ourselves beyond just African, but as someone who has an equal person in the world and begin to show up authentically. We might just be limited by just the tag African. There's so much more that we have bestowed in us. Most of us are super talented, but what needs to change is that we should break that barrier, that thinking that we're Africans, there's a limit to what we can do. There is no limit to what we can do because we have the same brain with people who we think are superior to us. So Africans are doing well, and we are still going to do much more than people have or think about us.
You are absolutely correct. Thank you very much for sharing your insights on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, please be reminded that the physical event is coming up, and we are all invited to stay locked in and our ears to the ground because it's going to be bigger than what you're experiencing right now. Now, to our brilliant speakers, all we have to say is thank you for pouring into us. We cannot thank you enough. Gladys, Enyinnaya, Esther, and Cecilia, thank you so much for pouring into us. And also to our audience, thank you so much for showing up. And your curiosity and ambition is what is going to take you to the next level. Now, remember that your brand and your presence is your pitch and your purpose. And it is the most powerful thing you need to do. As we wrap up today, please don't just take notes. Don't just admire the speakers. Don't just compliment them. Take action. Take action. Let what you heard today become what the world sees tomorrow. Until we meet again, stay bold, stay brilliant, and continue building Africa's digital legacy. I remain your humble moderator, Derine, and I cannot wait to have another beautiful and exciting session with you. I'm sure we are going to have other informations and announcements after this. But until then, I am logging out. Thank you so much. Thank you, and have a fabulous night. Splendid dreams, Europe.
Thank you so much, Derine. Thank you